Hello guys, and welcome back to another video, and today we will be looking at a scenario where the Persian Empire comes back in 2023. So let's just go ahead and get right into it with their beginning expansion. Of course, they're going to do what all my empires do when I bring them back and take advantage of weaker countries who have already lost a lot of land to them and completely annex them. So there we have Kyrgyzstan gone, Uzbekistan gone, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. And Greece is still alive. They're still going. But the UAE isn't. I'll leave them alive for now, though. And honestly, Pakistan could be quite easily killed in this scenario. Also, yeah, been a couple weeks. Hopefully this video still does well. Got sick. Annoying, but can't really record videos while you have a cough. Despite that, it should work. When it comes to stats, New Iranian Empire automatically going to be one of the great powers of the world. Automatically, as if not more powerful than Russia. And the USA is, let's say, more than worried at this. If this massive empire decided to team up with Russia and China, that would be absolutely terrible for the United States. With it quickly expanding into an even more powerful force, they would definitely be worried. From there, Persia invades Qatar and annexes the country along with the rest of the UAE to finish out pretty much full control of the Arabian Gulf. All of the oil that's here, all of the natural gas that's there, it is at least mostly now under their control. As for enemies, well, Russia they're on decent terms with. Kazakhstan's probably going to die soon, and India they don't want to go to war with yet. So where are they going to go? Well, they're going to go to Europe. First thing is they invade Bulgaria. And, well, Greece is really getting worried here. Persia may have failed to invade them once, or at least, considering casualties, it was definitely a failure. But they are getting worried that perhaps they cannot hold off this absolutely massive empire this time. Largest country in the world? Definitely not. Second largest? Probably not. I'd put it somewhere around maybe fifth? Fifth largest? Yeah, I'd put them at fifth largest. They're larger than Brazil. About the same as Brazil. But they are definitely expanding, so by the end of this they will be. From there, they push into North Africa by fully annexing Egypt, as Egypt had already lost their entire coastline and a lot of the Nile area, which is their most important land. From there, they decide to invade Greece, and this is the first one I'll actually map out because it's the first important one. Why is that? Because Greece had joined an alliance called the Balkan Resistance. Who else is in this? Romania, Croatia, basically everyone except Serbia who was considering joining, but Croatia joined first, so now they didn't want to. But besides that, every single country in the Balkans, and if you recognize Kosovo, they're not Kosovo either. From there, Slovenia joins, as does Moldova. The first challenging foe the Persians will have to face. Although still, their military is probably the largest in the world. This is not going to be that big a challenge for them. First of all, they get naval and air superiority in their hands. They then make a landing near Athens and one in southern Greece, whilst pushing down from the north. They also split Greece off from the rest of the alliance and push up the Danube River to hold a better border with Romania, at least in the meantime. From there, they fully capitulate Albania, capture Athens, and capitulate Greece. They then push up into Montenegro and make a border with Bosnia, whilst pushing past the Danube in certain areas of Romania, completely crippling their defenses. With a lot of the southern land gone, and Persia very quickly expanding, the blue team here is going to have absolutely no choice but to surrender. What's this going to do? Well, it's going to expand Persia's influence into Europe vastly. Just to begin with, they are going to take a massive amount of land out of Romania and just out of everyone in general. Moldova loses a bit of land. Greece is fully annexed, and Bosnia and Croatia also lose a significant amount of land. can definitely see who they're planning to invade next. Then Bosnia, Croatia, and Slovenia are united into one more powerful puppet of the Persians. Basically, the Persians asserting their dominance in Europe without having to govern all of it. Hungary and Slovakia are left as they are, but as Persian puppets, and Romania and Moldova are united, as Romania definitely lost a lot of their most useful land. Definitely didn't mean to use paintbrush there. For the rest of this land, well, that is now Persian land, and Persia now has maybe not a majority and definitely not a ton, but a good amount of European land. A good percentage of the continent, especially in the Balkans, under their control. With that, they'll just begin asserting their dominance and integrating these regions to no longer be called Greeks and Bosnians and Montenegrins and Romanians. They will now all be Persians. Who are they going to invade after this? Well, look at that. You guessed it. They're invading Serbia. And I guess Kosovo, too. They don't even have to call in their allies here. Serbia's got nothing. Nobody's willing to protect them, as Russia wants friendly terms with Persia. And they're just going to get absolutely obliterated here. As for the peace treaty, well, it's going to go about how you'd expect. Persia takes a bunch of land and puppets the rest. Although Serbia has definitely gone from one of the Balkan powers to a very, very minor country. So maybe I should... Yeah, there we go. Still new setup too. Moved it. With Persia now completely asserting its dominance in the Balkans, they begin to look in other ways, in other areas, mainly the Middle East. With their power growing so substantially, they decide, you know what? We already control a good portion of the region. Why not take the rest? And they invade both Oman and Saudi Arabia, along with soon after declaring war on Yemen. This is not going to be too difficult for them. They've already established that they are a global, great power. I don't know if I'd say superpower yet, but great power. And they are absolutely obliterating these people. Saudi Arabia, all these countries just gonna be dead very, very soon. Saudi Arabia loses its capital, Riyadh, and Iran is pushing down the coastline, almost completely cutting them off from trade. As for Oman, they never lasted at all. And as for Yemen, they lasted even less time than Oman. This island, which I know very little about, except that it has a lot of weird trees and whatnot, yeah, that's captured. And Yemen just completely capitulates. Their government doesn't even know if to surrender or not. They just die. As for the rest of this land, well, it is either slowly or very quickly being assimilated into the Persian Empire, as Saudi Arabia is cut up into 3, I guess, pockets, and this is all just desert. With that, Iran finishes up the war by cleaning up and killing as many of them as they can. With that, they annex all of these countries, getting themselves maybe not a complete monopoly, but quite a large oil supply, as also natural gas. All of that Arabian oil is now Persian oil. There is also now no Middle East. It is now Middle Persia. So they are going around renaming the map. They're quickly going to hop back over to Europe and ask Ukraine, do you want me to invade you and absolutely decimate your country? Or do you want to just sell me a bit of your southern land and possibly even Crimea? Ukraine says, fine, I'll sell it to you. They sell them their southern land. And guess what? Persia came back for more, so they sell them Crimea. They decide, hey, better to get some money for it than for Russia to just come in and annex it. Russia condemns this, but once again, they don't want war with Iran, and they are going to put that off by as much as they can for as long as they can. From there, Persia's going to go over to Kazakhstan and completely annex the country. They hadn't taken much land out of them, but Kazakhstan, despite its size, is not the most powerful country in real life, and it is absolutely nothing compared to Persia. With this, I mean, their size just massively grew. Kazakhstan's already in the top 10, I believe, top 10 most, like, just the largest countries modern day. So with all this land, Persia is definitely in 5th. Probably even competing with the United States, honestly. They control all of Central Asia, Pakistan, the Middle East, and a lot of area in the Balkans, possibly even to be expanded. They are definitely a power to be reckoned with. From there, they basically offer India trade. They send over their entire military and offer to buy a large part of India south. And soon after, send another offer to buy Kashmir. India, well, they want to deny both of these. They do not want to give Persia anything. But seeing as how powerful Persia is growing, and as Persia offers them complete protection against China, and even the future death of China, India eventually agrees after negotiating up the price. Persia, they have a very powerful economy thanks to oil, and they are using that. India would probably not accept this in real life, but thanks to some threatening tactics and a bit of luck, they eventually get the land from India. India also knows that if they refused, Persia would most likely declare war on them. And although the winner would be difficult to decide, Persia would eventually come out on top, and India would lose millions upon millions upon millions of people. Obviously, they did not want that, so they just decided to give up some land. From there, Persia begins to prepare their promise to India to kill China, but not before deciding that North Africa should be theirs, and that after enough time having puppets and integrating the Balkans, they deserve more land. Their plan is to continue expanding into Europe, slowly but surely, hoping that the great powers don't form up an alliance. Sadly for them, they do, as Italy, France, Germany, Austria, Czechia, and Poland make an alliance against Persia, which Persia does not want to go up yet, as Spain and the UK have both joined, along with Canada, and the United States is considering it. From there, Persia goes ahead and just annexes Libya. They just go ahead and walk on in and basically say, hey, yeah, we're all Muslim countries, whatnot. Yeah, you should totally join us and stuff. And Libya, seeing no other choice, eventually agrees. Sudan, who's already in a tough situation to say the least, which may have been made even tougher by Persia just to get what they want, eventually is forced to join Persia, along with Eritrea, who's just far too weak to do anything about it. By then, Ethiopia has joined an East African Federation alliance, which it's fairly powerful, and Iran really does not want a major war, so they ignore it and instead go after Chad and Niger. Niger, their main population centers are over here, so they could probably survive against Iran in the desert. But after Iran may or may not have staged a vote in the country, they join. Persia would most likely reform into some kind of, Muslim confederacy or something like that, just to get resistance down. But we're also assuming that there is no resistance, as that will benefit Persia greatly. If you don't have to dedicate resources to, taming the populace, then you can just expand freely much quicker. From there, Persia's going to decide that all of North Africa should be theirs, and that next up they deserve Tunisia. Tunisia's once again going to be given a choice, and they decide to join. As for Algeria, very similar thing. Persia has now asserted itself as, I want to say they're the largest country on earth now. They control so much of northern Africa and all of the Middle East and Central Asia. This is the largest country on earth. But they're stuck over here in Western Africa. Well, they're completely blocked off by the, the Saharan Desert, and these countries refuse to join them, no matter what Persia attempts. Going to war with Nigeria wouldn't be smart, as they are already considering joining the East African Federation, which is planning to turn itself into the Central African Federation. And Morocco has joined the European Alliance after a lot of debate in the European Alliance. With all of these issues, Persia decides to redirect and finally fulfill their promise to India in the final war of this video, and the largest one. Persia is going to decide that they need to be a superpower, and to do that, they must kill a superpower or just expand your military and economy, but that's boring. So they go ahead and declare war on China. Would they win this? Possibly. They are quite a powerful country in this world, but they will also have some allies. India decides to join in. They lost some land to Persia, and they're planning to get that land back from China. As for other countries getting involved, Vietnam joins in, Cambodia and Laos join in on China's side, and this is going to be known as the Great Asian War. Thailand joins the red team. Also, these are controlled by India, I found that out. Myanmar joins the blue team. Bangladesh, I don't know enough about them to put them on a team, so they will just be neutral. Bhutan and Nepal would either join the red team or no team, but since they are fairly neutral, I'll keep them on no team. South Korea and Japan do join the red team though, which is going to be absolutely fantastic for Persia, as these are both quite powerful Western countries. Along with that, Taiwan joins in, and the red team just got a whole lot more powerful. So even though Russia is considering joining in, they decide that it may be more important to deal with a few things over here in Europe and get some old lands back. So as they're focusing on that, they decide that they cannot send troops over to help China. With Russia fully out of the question, China is preparing to defend themselves at all costs. And those costs will be great on all sides. For the Great Asian War, of course, Persia is the aggressor, so they will have the immediate advantage, gaining a lot of land in northern China, as the terrain isn't the best and there isn't the most important cities here. But that also means that China isn't dedicating nearly as much to defend it. Over here in Tibet, progress is slow, but they're advancing. And Tibet is, well, rebelling against China, so that's more than helping. In Myanmar, Myanmar just died. Myanmar really doesn't stand a chance, and neither do Cambodia and Laos. And with that, we see China losing its allies one by one, just holding out in the jungles. Taiwan, well, China attempts to invade it, but that just leads to more people joining in against China. With everyone seeing that China is literally just sending bodies to the field and hoping that they don't die, everyone decides that China's the bad guy here, and most of Asia, or at least a lot of Asia, is going to join in against them, along with Australia, who has already pledged, well, they have some form of agreement in their area, and they decide, hey, it's pretty obvious that China's dying. I think they are going to die, and I think I should get in on this. Maybe they won't get any land, but some more operations could never hurt. So with this war looking worse and worse for China, guess what's going to happen? It's going to get worse and worse. Iran has been influencing Mongolia this entire time, and with their small population, of which Iran has sent in almost 1 million people, a huge part of Mongolia's total population, Mongolia joins the red team. Of course, we shouldn't underestimate China here either, so I am going to have them push into Mongolia. Their army is large, and their manpower is even larger, so they could definitely fight back. But at this point, Persia, I'm guessing, has a similar manpower count, as they control Pakistan, parts of India, a lot of North Africa, the Middle East. They're large, and they definitely have a lot of people in there. China, well, their allies are gone, as North Korea surrenders to the south, and they are completely overstretched as, why is that? Okay, well, as the red team is landing in the island of Hainan in southern China. With this landing, they connect up to Vietnam and capture a lot of the surrounding areas. We also see some of southern China around Hong Kong rebelling against the Chinese government, whilst up here in Manchuria, well, things aren't looking much better. At this point, the Chinese government sees no point in holding down desert and empty fields, so they retreat their troops out, and nothing is going to happen here for a while. whilst the Persians are steamrolling into Xinjiang and down south, hoping to get to some decently important parts of China, as they're starting to meet more and more resistance. As for that Tibetan rebellion that I was talking about, yeah, they're out now and they are fighting. They take over a majority of the Tibetan plateau, whilst even striking up a few deals with the Red Team to get some of their land back. They agreed to purchase a bit of land from Persia, and overall, they've gotten all of Tibet back and agreed to keep fighting against China in return. How's this looking for China? Not great. Manchuria's falling, southern China's falling, and you're holding on as best you can, which isn't very good. The Red Team is now steamrolling through central China, and they cut off these jungles. The Chinese are using them to kill any Red Team divisions that entered, but now they're the ones encircled in a jungle with no supply. So even though the Red Team does see difficult pushing in, these Chinese troops are starving and decide to surrender. Up here in Manchuria, a massive campaign is started by Japan to connect up with Mongolia and encircle of the north. And once again, gonna try not to underestimate China here. They are gonna push back around Beijing. Japan and South Korea alone can definitely not defeat China, but the beast pushing in from the east most definitely can. They have now reached all borders of Mongolia, and despite horrible terrain, guess what? The Chinese also have to deal with that terrain, and the Persians are more than accustomed to desert, so they don't have any issues fighting there, whilst the Chinese do. Chinese are getting pushed back and back further towards their most important land, and this is where the Chinese make their final stand. Basically just attempting their absolute best to not die and not have to surrender. Sadly for them, the Chinese people are getting more and more restless, and they just lost all of Manchuria. Beijing is about to fall, and their team is getting closer and closer to Shanghai, their largest city. With the Battle of Shanghai nearing, the Battle of Beijing begins. The Red Team sends its forces closer and closer to the city, and the Chinese resistance cannot hold. Chinese morale is more than low, and with this city about to be encircled and a massive Red Team army moving in, Beijing is captured and the entire region falls suit. With Beijing gone, this second major battle happens for Shanghai. The Red Team moves towards the coast, encircling the city, and they begin to push in. They also capture surrounding territories just to lower morale even further. The Chinese attempt to conscript the entire population that's left, but sadly for them, they have almost no land left, and most of their people don't want to fight. So with the fall of Shanghai and the push-up around the coast, China is forced to maybe not surrender, but capitulates. With that, the final peace treaty will be drawn, in which we will see what this new world looks like after the Persian Empire was brought back. First things first, and that's what lands will Iran get? Well, although a lot of people called for these lands to get independence, Persia decided that it's theirs and rightfully theirs. As for India, yeah, they got some minor land concessions from China on both of their borders. You know what? Nice, India. You did well. In Myanmar was completely dissolved. India took a lot of the land, and a majority of the rest was given to Thailand. Thailand also got some land out of Laos, but majority of that was given over to Vietnam, along with Laos, except for a small part of Cambodia, which was given over to Thailand. The rest was given over to Vietnam. Over here in China proper, we see Tibet being given full independence with no reliance on any other country, although they have very good relations with India and Persia. We even gave them a tiny bit of extra land from what they were hoping for. This is what they were hoping for, and this is what they got. So they are more than happy with this. The Mongolians, well, they didn't do much, but you know what? Why not give a weak country a bunch of land just to weaken your enemies? Or at least that's the reasoning the Red Team's using. So they give Mongolia most of Inner Mongolia and a bit of other land. As for Korea, well, they unite the Korean peninsula and even push up a bit farther into Manchuria. Japan doesn't get anything. Maybe they'll get a puppet. Yes, let's give Japan a Manchurian puppet. Why? Because Japan deserves something. They did a lot in this war, okay? Taiwan, well, the Taiwanese government is now beginning to integrate their rule into mainland China, although that will take multiple years to fully accomplish. So for now, they are given higher and higher roles in the government until eventually Taiwan controls the entire thing, or at least the Taiwanese government. As for what's left of Myanmar, well, it's given over to China, as it's a bunch of random jungle that nobody really wanted. And although India considers, actually, no, let's give it to India. India didn't get as much land as they had hoped, so instead they're gonna get random jungles in Myanmar and southern China. Exactly what they wanted. As for any other changes, well, that's about it. The new Chinese government is given autonomy, major autonomy, but Persia still holds multiple seats in the government to twist it into doing what Persia thinks is best. Manchuria is now a Japanese puppet. And, well, Korea is now a power for sure. I mean, in real life, they're already a military and economic power, but this has just expanded their land area by easily over 2x, double. Japan just got a puppet, and Mongolia may not have doubled their land, but definitely expanded. I think Mongolia is pretty happy with this. They are also now one of Persia's closest allies, as a massive percent of the population living there is Persian, with Persia using that as a strategy to influence Mongolian politics. Down here in Southeast Asia, let's give Tibet independence. No, actually, first let's give India their land. India, I mean, they got slight concessions out of China over here in the Kashmir region, and a fair amount of concessions over here from Myanmar and southern China. Maybe not as much land as they had hoped, but seeing as they were planning on getting even less, you know what, India will take it. And, well, Bangladesh, I'd look out if I were you, because India has two massive areas, and actually I don't like how these borders look. Let me redraw that a bit. Perfect. Sorry, India, you're gonna lose a bit more land, but it's for the sake of the borders looking nicer. I know that I just made them curvier, but, I mean, what would look better as a border? This or this? It's never a straight line. Do not use straight lines for borders. It just, it doesn't even look good. It doesn't make any sense. I truly do wonder what the Europeans are thinking. But you know what? That's fine, because India still got a fair amount of land, and they have plenty more area to expand in the future if need be. As for Thailand, well, Thailand's fairly happy. They have about doubled their land area into a lot of southern Myanmar, which is more than the most important land, along with getting slight, small, but still, yeah, no, not significant, just slight border adjustments with Cambodia and Laos. Still, definitely nice to have. And as for Vietnam, well, they got a good amount of land from China, and also a fair amount of land from, well, just the rest of Laos and Cambodia. Whatever Thailand didn't take, it is now Vietnamese. Okay, with all of that done, we can now, wait, is that it? Let us check. Well, yeah, Philippines and Australia, they just get monetary concessions and maybe a few non-aggression pacts. Japan got a puppet, Korea got a ton of land, Southeast Asia got a ton of land, India got a ton of land. Persia got a bit of completely useless land, but you know what? They're gonna take it. Why is that? Because their goal here was to become the largest country on Earth, and I believe that they have completed that goal. If we go ahead and grab the Persian country and put it over Russia, I think, well, I'd say they're rivaling them in size, if not then surpassing them. With that, once again, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.